given how well Max was driving, that they could have won that race. Lando Norris was basically perfect.
His weekend was overshadowed by Verstappen's brilliance through the race.
He will now feel the pressure. Hello and welcome to the Inside Track, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of Formula One through our exclusive access to Red Bull Racing. I'm Rick Edwards, journalist, broadcaster, Formula One fan.
And I'm sports journalist Matt Majendie, also a Formula One fan.
On today's show, Max Verstappen goes from the pits to the podium, but feels like his championship charge might be over. We're going to review the crucial changes Red Bull made to the car between qualifying, that was dismal, and the race, which was good. It's Lando Norris's championship to lose, surely, but can he continue soaking up this pressure? And Yuki's double time penalty nightmare and what that's going to mean for his place in the team. I think, spoiler, you probably know what I think it means. As always, if you want to watch this episode or get the latest video content from Race Day, subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Inside Track Podcast. So, should we start with Lando or with Max? Where do you want to start?
Let's start with Max. Let's start with
Max. So, absolutely, that horrible weekend. And then, arguably, his best drive of the season in the race.
Yeah, honestly, it's so much to unpick from arriving there on Thursday to them, finishing the race. You had sprint qualifying where they were sixth quickest, damage limitation in the sprint race to finish fourth, which was sort of quite respectable, bearing in mind where they were struggling. And then
right.
Yeah, I mean, it was sort of all rightish, not what you want in the title race when they're saying about being perfect, but that qualifying was diabolical. Verstappen, it's the first time ever he's not made it out of Q1 solely on pace. He's had technical issues before. So first time neither Red Bull through Q1 since Japan in 2006. So that sort of shows how poor it was. I like Laurent Mekies put his hands up basically on the pit wall in an interview and said, we threw everything at it. We took a risk and it didn't work. And then, first time unlucky, didn't work. Second time didn't work, and then they threw everything at it at the third attempt for the actual race itself. And I know we'll talk about it, but it was astonishing that they managed to have that turnaround, and they had the quickest car. The car was the quickest car in the race.
Yeah, is there even an argument that, you can't quibble at going from the pits to getting third, but is there an argument that it wouldn't have been out of the question, given how quick the car was, given how well Max was driving, with maybe a little strategy tweak, that they could have won that race?
Yeah, so he had two options, basically. Either to go on those softs and try and chase down the Mercedes in front of him, or stick on the medium. They were of the view, the team, that by sticking on those medium, those tyres wouldn't have lasted to the end. And it was very interesting. Andrea Stella, the team boss at McLaren, also said he didn't think they'd last. The tyres would have gone off. And when they go off, it is dramatic. You've seen it happen before. The pace totally evaporates. So they, I think Norris would have got past if they stayed on the mediums anyway. The question that we'll never know the answer for, if they'd stayed out, would he have stayed ahead of Antonelli? The strategists felt not. And so I loved it. They just tried to throw everything at it. It was just bonkers. 1 minute you had Verstappen, like, how's he suddenly leading? And then Norris is back in the chase. And I thought he was going to get Antonelli, but then he didn't, because Antonelli drove beautifully. It was gripping stuff. There are a lot of questions to be asked and a lot of what ifs if they haven't done it that way. But I think GP said over the radio, P2 is possible here. It didn't give the sense that they ever thought the race win was possible. The fact a podium was even possible is astonishing. Bearing in mind, started from the pits and then had a puncture early in the race, and yet still managed to get there. That was incredible.
Yeah, I suppose the thing about the puncture though was it turned out to weirdly not be as bad as a puncture would normally be.
Yeah, so behind the VSC, you would have lost normally a pit stop 22 seconds. This one only lost 11 seconds, but then he was in clean air, and so he could claw back that space. The only thing is, I think if I wonder what would have happened if that VSC had happened just a few laps later, whether he'd stayed on the hards a bit longer, he could have done 2 stints on the medium and made it to the end. But the hard tyre was a bit of a shocker and wasn't working. So in some ways, there was a benefit of getting rid of that immediately as well.
So I think the thing that would be most interesting to pick over then is what were Red Bull getting so wrong on the preceding days, and what did they then get right on race day? Is it all floor based?
Literally, they got everything wrong. I mean, that was probably the easiest answer. It was just astonishing because they tried absolutely everything, and there was a great moment it was in the midst of qualifying when GP goes, what tools can we give you, Max? And he goes, I don't know. And it's the first time I've ever heard him do that, like literally give up. The, I guess there's different parts to talk about. So one bit is they have to the car the high aero downforce the car gets. They're so good in that high downforce aerodynamically is when the ride height of the car is lower. That seems to be when the Red Bull, the RB21, performs the best because of how bumpy Interlagos is. You have to slightly raise that up. And so there's a balancing act. If you try and adjust the front wing, the rear wing, you're creating lack of grip, instability. So there's this sort of tightrope that you're trying to find a way through. Now, we hadn't had a sprint race. I'm genuinely of the view they probably would have won that race because they would have had FP1, FP2, FP3 to work it out. But they didn't have that. They didn't have that time to work it out. When it came to the race, they essentially had a brand new power unit. So they put in a new engine. Normally you'd have a grid penalty for that, but they're starting from the pit lane, so it didn't matter. But on top of that, they changed the floor. So you're saying it's floor based is a key aspect. They went back to the floor that was prior to Mexico, which makes you wonder why they bothered revising it because it wasn't perfect in Mexico and clearly a problem here. And they just struck gold, didn't they? We need to talk about Max's brilliance, but we also need to talk about Red Bull because engineering wise, mechanics wise, to pull off what they did was truly, truly incredible. To create a car that enabled us to see the sort of Max magic. It was just wonderful.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And we've spoken about it a bunch of times on this podcast. What Red Bull do seem able to do is react very quickly to problems, fix problems, like more so than any other team.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they do it, but they do it again and again.
They've always been a very nimble team. I think it goes back to almost Christian Horner. He was this F3000 boss, and in that team, you had to be nimble and act quickly. That was the sort of ethos, and he carried that through to Formula One. So I think they have that mentality, and even with Horner gone, that still happens. But what they pulled off, I can't think of a more remarkable one than that. It was funny, isn't it? We had that incredible race last year where Verstappen went from 17th to win, but there was the rain, and so that can throw things up.
Yeah.
This was dry. You'd say he had no chance, but it's like an incredible great escape.
He got no right at all.
Absolutely.
And poor old Yuki.
Yeah.
Flat last.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's painful when one of the team's drivers is pulling something absolutely exceptional out, and the other one is really not. And that's kind of it. Like the contrast is so stark. Yeah, I think it's pretty disappointing.
I'm going to start with the sympathy card. You'll be surprised to hear. Yeah, a big shock for a Monday morning. There was an awful bit on the race radio afterwards where he just goes, "Oh, where did Max finish?" And then he just hears P3, and then there's just silence, and that was just really bleak. I really felt for him in that moment. Problem was he created. If you look back at the incident with Lance Stroll, I don't think the 10-second penalty was wrong. He deserved that. Then when he comes in for that 10-second penalty, essentially Becky has admitted that someone touched the car. Basically, that car comes in for the 10-second penalty. Pit crew can't do anything. They can't touch the car before that 10 seconds is up. And properly old school, someone's standing there with a stopwatch saying 10 seconds go. And obviously someone's touched the car before then, so he's had to come back in. So he was undone by that. But he finished 1:10 behind Lando Norris, which was awful. And again, the Racing Bulls are in the points ahead of him, and that's not a good look for him either.
Not at all. On 10-second penalties, Piastri's race really pivoted on the penalty that he got, because otherwise, who knows really? I don't think he's going to beat Norris, but second is a reasonable sort of projection, I'd say. I think that it's pretty harsh, that 10-second penalty. I've watched it a couple of times, and I just think, I don't know, I get that to the absolute sort of letter of the law, yes, but in the sense of like racing, you can look at it and go, well, there's a gap, and he's gone for it, and you don't want to sort of say to people they shouldn't be doing that. That's the whole point of the sport, isn't it? I felt for him.
It's interesting. So I'm watching the race, and in that moment when I see it happen,
Mm.
it's on the first lap. My instinct, just seeing it live action, was 5 second penalty to Piastri. That's what I thought. 10 seconds,
Okay.
ridiculous. Five second that happens. That's the first lap. So there's meant to be some leeway there. 5 seconds. You see, he locks up. He doesn't have control of his car. Yet now that I've watched it back and more watched it back, I'm totally of the Charles Leclerc view that says, well, actually, both sort of Piastri and Antonelli are at fault in some ways. Antonelli should have created more space. Piastri, any racing driver, was going to go for that gap, and so
Yeah.
I've changed my view. In that instinct, I thought 5 seconds, and really that should be the harshest of penalties. Like if we're dissecting it and being letter of the law, I think that's the harshest you can give him. But now, when I look at it back, I don't think he deserved the penalty any more than Antonelli, who you see Antonelli
Mm.
look into his mirror and knows Piastri's there, so he's turning in, so he knows what's going to
Yeah.
be there. And poor old Leclerc's just a passenger in all this. But he was putting the blame on both those drivers, which I think is fair, but probably let that pass as a racing incident.
Yeah, that's pretty much where I ended up, and sort of what I thought from the word go, to be honest.
Did you? It was interesting though. He wasn't too grumpy about it, was it? I mean, he just sort of
No,
sort of a bit like,
no.
I thought he might be a bit more, shouty about it all, but he was quite quiet over the radio, didn't complain. It is what it is, shrugged his shoulders, but he'll feel hard done by, certainly.
Yeah, and I think he's probably right too. Antonelli, aside from that, and I think you're right. I think he's lucky to escape with no sort of penalty there. If you're going to give Piastri one,
Yeah.
But aside from that, terrific drive. Best finish for Antonelli. Yeah, must be.
Yeah, best finish. The most impressive bit was him at the end. Like, it was great the whole way through, but that bit when he's holding off Verstappen, and Verstappen's being a real mischievous sod, isn't he? He's weaving behind him, trying like this is the teenager in front of him. If I just do this, I can mess with his head and put him under pressure. And there was a little wobble later on that nearly gave a sniff, but the way he did turns 2 and 3 so beautifully. When Verstappen was thinking he'd then have a chance at turn 4, it never gave that as an opportunity. And defensive driving was so impressive. And maybe if there was a lap or two more, maybe Verstappen could have got past, but he just looked really mature driver, didn't he? For a teenager.
Yeah.
Jeez, impressive.
Yeah, because you wouldn't have, if you just described the situation, Max Verstappen in a faster car, coming up behind, this number of laps to go, and it's a kid driving the one in front, you're like, well, Verstappen's getting past. It feels that simple. Yeah.
Seems like a no-brainer. I mean, I guess Verstappen's tyres are going a bit, but you could see Antonelli's were as well. He was
same for Antonelli. Yeah,
so
yeah,
great. Yeah, really great.
It was actually a very good weekend for young drivers across the board, really, because Antonelli obviously second, then Ollie Bearman in sixth. He's really, particularly in the sort of second half of the season, it's so impressive.
And interesting, I've listened to his radio back as well. He just sounds so mature, like talking, well done team. You did a great job. We all pulled together. I know this will feel disappointing. We've done a P4 and we're now a P6, but this is great. And then he was asked what he thought about Verstappen.
By the way, no one is thinking it's disappointing.
No, I don't, not at all. But then he was asked about Verstappen, and he did some fruity language to say how impressive it was. Like, he was just in awe. And I love it when drivers are in awe of another driver doing something brilliant. But Bearman, flip. He's making Ocon. I mean, Ocon very nearly finished in the points, couldn't quite do it, but Bearman's so impressive.
We have not mentioned the guy who is now 24 points clear at the top of the Drivers' Championship, who in Lando Norris was just he was basically perfect across the entire weekend, and is not. We had speculated. Well, I don't know if this is quite right. We had asked the question, hadn't we? Just said, I wonder now that he's got his nose in front, if he will now feel the pressure. And so far, the answer to that is a pretty resounding no.
It's funny. I was going to make the same point. It was incredible.
Yeah.
I was really fascinated to see how it'd be. I know it was only a point, but he was the coolest customer. It's a shame in a way that his weekend was almost slightly overshadowed by Verstappen's brilliance through the race. But Norris took pole in the sprint, won the race, pole in qualifying, won the race, and he was just streets ahead of everyone else, including Piastri, who's been very impressive this season. That was fantastic. And, now when people say things like it's his title to lose, does that all change the dial a bit because there is more pressure, or because, in fact, he's nearly a race win clear? Maybe he won't feel the pressure. I don't know.
I think he will take so much confidence from the last two last two race weekends that he will. I heard him actually give an interview. He's talking about, confidence, and you don't want to have like too much confidence isn't great. Too little confidence isn't great. You need to get the right kind of balance, and it just feels like he has got the right balance at the moment.
It's interesting as well. He said he was asked if he thought about the title. He said, no, not think about the title at all. And that's got to be the biggest lie. There is absolutely no chance he's not thinking. 3 races to go.
Yourself, mate. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I feel
Yeah.
some of the things he's saying, you feel like there's a psychologist at work there. I did ask him about that before, and he said all that stuff was private. I feel there's someone that's been working very well with him to get over some of his demons earlier in the season, where he clearly was struggling. He did listen a lot to the criticism and take that on board, but he seemed to, even the booing that happened after this race, he seemed to just brush off and say it's not nice to hear, but it's fine, it is what it is. And I think he's in a great place.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing to say, but I think he feels like a much better driver now than he did even at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's sort of odd, isn't it, to work out how it's changed. He's just been so consistent, so consistently good, and I think got everything out that he could of the last races. You would pick him. I mean, I'd pick him to win in Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Maybe not Vegas; it's hard to call. But I just Piastri doesn't seem to have that same qualifying or race pace at the moment for whatever reason.
Yeah, and he does sound. It's interesting when you listen to, as you mentioned, the race radio from Piastri, him talking afterwards. He feels a bit not like he's given up on the championship, but there is a kind of feels like there's a slight sort of tacit acceptance in his tone and his manner. That is, do you know what I mean, or is that unfair?
I sort of know what you mean, but then he's so quiet and quite reserved.
But that is what he's like. Yes.
So
yes.
It's hard. Are we reading into that? So I saw that a little bit, and I felt maybe I was interpreting that incorrectly. That's just how he goes about answering the question. So if he'd won the race, he might be answering in a similar way. So that's what I don't know, and I don't think we'll find that out because he is quite a closed book, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. Just going back to Yuki's 10-second penalty, is that something where someone is going to get a right old telling off this week at Red Bull? Because it feels quite. It's sort of quite amateur hour, isn't it? Like they know exactly what the rules are.
I would think whoever that was, if it's just one person, will be feeling pretty bad about the whole thing. It was interesting chatting to the Calla brothers when the twins were there talking about the pit stops, and if you make a mistake, how terrible you feel, etc., etc. Everyone puts an arm around you. They're quite forgiving in that you can make a mistake and you move on. But that was a big old howler, wasn't it? I mean, as far as we know, it might be more than one person, but just talking from what Laurel said about it seemed someone to put their hands on the car and hence having to come back in again.
I think there is a difference between making a mistake in the kind of excitement of a pit stop versus just doing a thing that you're not allowed to do in a certain time period. That feels sort of slightly unforgivable.
Unless that person just lost their balance, they were just fell over.
Oh, yeah. If it's a bit more slapstick than we imagine, had someone sort of foot in a bucket and gone into it, yeah, fine.
That's much more fun. If it's that. I'd like to see some footage anyway. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, if we're writing a film of this race, which I don't think we are, then that would be how that would play out, I think. Trips over a rake. And I think we need to talk about Lewis Hamilton. A terrible weekend for Ferrari. Also a terrible race. So him and Leclerc retired. And Lewis Hamilton was saying his time at Ferrari has been a nightmare. And it's kind of it's really sad, but it's also hard to argue. Like he's really there's been flashes, hasn't there?
Mm-hmm.
But in general, it has been poor.
Yeah, it has been poor. Definitely not what when they signed him with the all exciting. We've got Lewis Hamilton. No one probably expected to play like this. Last few races, he's been pretty close to Charles, hasn't he? In the qualifying, it's like he seemed to be getting up to speed. But then, I don't know, when something goes wrong, he just looks broken by it, doesn't he? Like, it was weird, those comments. I thought. maybe he just wears his heart on his sleeve so much that in that moment he expresses it like that. But a nightmare, that's a really bad assessment of your first season with a team, is it? It doesn't instill confidence on everyone around you within the team as well, does it?
That's the thing. You kind of you, probably fine to say that in private, but it's quite a difficult thing for the team to hear, because obviously everyone is trying their absolute utmost to give him a car that is going to get him round quickly. And it just, feels like he's like run out of patience almost with difficulties, and maybe that's just because he's just been doing it for so long. But he just feels frustrated, and I don't think Lewis Hamilton 5 years ago, 10 years is reacting like this to problems. And I know that he has been in a better car, but still, do you know what I mean? It just feels like there's a sort of change in his sort of demeanour.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Do you think it's to the extent that he would walk away then after this season, or no?
I do.
Do you think he's lost the drive?
That's kind of what I'm wondering. I hope
Mm.
not, but because it's not like this is the first time that he's come out and said something similar this season, and I do wonder if he might just think, I can't handle this anymore. I don't want
But
to handle this
there's
anymore.
still the carrot of that 8th title, and if Ferrari are the team, everyone says Mercedes got the better engine, if Ferrari are the team that get the jump at the start of 2026, then you never know. But there's no driver I feel that needs more of a reset than Lewis Hamilton for the winter to come, for December to come, and the F1 to be over, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? If you are kind of questioning your future in the sport, you would look at 2026 and think, well, I need to just I need to just feel my way here. Like, are they going to have a good car? Because if they are, I want to be in it, and you'll probably know quite quickly. But yeah, so I guess no, I don't think he will. I don't think he will walk away. I think he'll stick around. But if it doesn't go well next year, I think that's probably.
It's remarkable that we're even considering it. Shows how badly that you're even thinking that he could walk away. I think that's sort of testament to how much of a nightmare it's been, as he says himself.
Okay, so that's the Brazilian GP all wrapped up. Next up on the Formula One calendar, Las Vegas, and we'll get to that. But first, let's take a little look at our predictions. Now, in our carefully curated prediction rules, we get a point for each driver on the podium we call correctly. Now, 2 points if we get a driver in the correct podium position, and the Holy Grail, the 6 points if we absolutely nail the 1, 2, 3. So over the season, we're up against each other, you, the audience, and then some sort of AI. You went for Verstappen, Norris, Piastri. I went for Verstappen, Piastri, Norris. Disappointingly, that's just 2 points for you and 2 points for me. Although, if I'm being completely honest, yours was a slightly better prediction than mine. But you don't get any points for it. No. I think I'm quite fair. I think I'm fair. Yours is slightly better than mine, but the points do not reflect that. AI bot predicted the same as you, Verstappen, Norris, Piastri, so it gets 2. But our audience member, selected at random, Craig on Instagram, went for Norris, Verstappen, Piastri. So that gives the audience 3 points. That's good. That's good. So the leaderboard, just 3 races to go. It's tight, isn't it? It is tight. Matt, 41. Me, 39. The AI, 37. The audience, 35. 6 points across the 4. Anyone could win it. But if someone gets a 6-pointer now, you kill everyone else. You absolutely kill them. And annoyingly, with Vegas coming up, I think Vegas is quite a hard one to predict. so not feeling particularly confident. I haven't even completely worked out what mine is yet. So we are Saturday the 22nd of November for the Vegas Grand Prix. I quite like the Vegas track, but I do. When I was trying to sort of think about who's going to do well, and I don't know. I mean, probably Norris, but I'm not sure. I don't know who it favours particularly.
I think Norris should do well.
Mm-hmm.
Verstappen should do well, but also Mercedes should do well,
Yeah.
and Ferrari, like they flip from this one race. It is. I think this is one of the harder ones to call. It might end up being predictable results, but it feels like one of the harder ones to call. So
yeah, who historically has done well there?
Did Russell win last year? Russell from Hamilton last year? I think so.
Yeah, so Russell did win last year. So yeah, Mercedes is probably not a bad shout to be in there. I think I probably have got Russell. I know, actually, I don't want to say. What's your top three?
Okay, I'm going to go. What the hell? Why not? I'm going to go Verstappen for first, Norris second, Russell third.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just reversing the front two, so that's interesting. So I'm going to go Norris, Verstappen, Russell.
The only thing as well, I sort of don't know whether Ferrari might be in the mix, but also Antonelli as well. I can't sort of discount him. It's a bit of a, that's a tough one. It feels this could be the 6 points. This could be the title decider.
It actually could,
Imagine.
Oh, I feel a bit anxious about that. I can sort of, yeah. What has the AI gone for? Let's have a look. Norris, Piastri, Verstappen. I think I'm sort of, I think I'm discounting Piastri at this point. But it's also not
perfectly
bad.
Possible.
Oh yeah, of course it is.
Perfectly possible.
Yeah.
That makes me a bit nervous. I'll be nervous watching the race just for the AI. Just if suddenly,
if the AI gets the 6 points, I'm quitting on the spot, I think. We will also be selecting a listener prediction to represent you, the audience. Not too late if you want to share your prediction on our Instagram stories or YouTube comments. And also remember to follow us on Instagram, TikTok or YouTube. Just search for the Inside Track podcast or check out the show notes. So we'll be back in 2 weeks' time to review all the drama from Las Vegas and give you some exclusive insider insight, as always, from Team Red Bull. The Inside Track is funded and made by BBC Studios, a commercial company that's wholly owned by the BBC. It's produced and edited by John Weeks, video editing and social media by Georgina Revel, and James Cook is the executive producer.